Hey guys, Scott Adams here again. So in my last video, we talked about the basics of chargeback management and representment. So today I wanted to add some details to that. And then throughout the rest of the week and coming days, we'll talk more about that, some other details about kind of the whole management process around chargebacks, not just representment. So today, a few things. So one, when you're looking at a chargeback management company, you want to look and see how they charge. So there's generally two ways to do this. There's the percentage of a win. So if they win the representment, they get a percentage of the sale. And there's also a charge per case. So a lot of times with the percent to win, that one you need to think about, what the motivation is, right? So you're incentivizing them to win the case. So a few things can happen. So it does sound like, and it very much could be, that it's a good situation because, if they win, you pay. It makes sense. Now, the problem is, though, what will they do? What will they do to win? So you have to look at that situation. And then also you have to look at, are they representing the right chargebacks, the ones you want represented versus what they might want? Because they might want to go for a higher ticket, whereas you might want to go for a lot more and not worry about the ticket. So, think about that. Now, as far as charge per case, so this can be good too, especially if you're a high ticket merchant, then, the percentage could end up costing you a lot more. But when it's per case, in that case, they want to get as many cases out as they can. So, are they doing a good job? You need to look at those case files and also then look at your percentages and your win rates. And then also what reason codes. So we kind of talked about that yesterday a little bit, but the reason code is pretty important. There's exceptions for sure, but you mostly want to be representing cases that it's a friendly fraud situation. If it's real fraud, you should have caught that, right? So maybe you shouldn't represent all those, but it depends. It's somewhat case by case. So the another thing you need to look at are the practices. How are they winning? How are they representing your cases? There's definitely some vendors that it's 100% automated and it's all templates and it's all, as quick as possible. And again, most likely via, algorithms. And that can be really good, but it might not be as personalized as you might like it. And there's other vendors that it's very hands-on. They dig into your cases, they build up the file really nicely, and it's very custom. And so that can be good. It really depends what you're looking for. But through all this, what's super important is transparency. Right, so can you actually look at your case files? Can you see what they're sending to the bank to be the representment? And if you can, that's awesome. And I would look, can you see those in your UI? That'd be the best case. Or, if you just ask, hey, can I see my case files? Then you ought to be able to see them. So the more transparent, the better, for sure. Now when you look at these case files, one of the most important things to do is make sure they're truthful. If you look in them, and one of the most important things generally to put in those files is the path leading up to them pressing that submit button. Then later, what was delivered and how it's delivered. So if, for example, you see a case file and your consumer goes through one flow, but they've submitted a different flow, that's probably not good, right? That's misleading. The same thing with like delivery. Did you deliver the item? If you didn't deliver it and it says you did, or if there's any kind of situation like that, that could be a red flag. But you have to be truthful in these things. If you can't be for this case and expect to win, then you probably should not be representing it. Additionally, think about customization. So now this is really a business by business situation. Do you want to customize or do you not? Oftentimes if it's a really low cost to do the representment and maybe a really low ticket item, it might make sense to not customize. If it's high ticket, you probably want to be as thorough as possible. And then in this case, you're going to need to customize. And is that even offered by your vendor? And then, finally think about metrics. So this is an interesting one. So your win rate is generally the metric that people look at. Now this can be kind of manipulated like any statistic. And one of the really, really important components here is that, if you're paying by the win, then how is that calculated? And one of the biggest issues that I've seen with that metric is that, maybe you do representment and you win. Okay, awesome, you won. But did you? And the problem is you can then get a second chargeback. So, the evidence goes to the bank says, hey, you won, but then the consumer can still then dispute that again. And if that happens, you didn't really win. You might have already paid for the win. You might have got your money back, but then a second chargeback comes, the money's taken away again. And so you want to make sure that either you don't pay until time has passed, so, about a month after the win, or if you pay, make sure that it is reconciled later so that if you do get a second chargeback, you're either credited or refunded that money. That's something to definitely look at. And then whenever you're looking at win rates, you also want to break it down and be able to break it down by about any variable you want. Real common ones tend to be the bin and the reason code. But you can look at affiliates, you can look at the individual banks, you can look at different codes you might have within your system that could be important, because you really want to dig in and dig down into the numbers with these things. And then finally also think about recovery rate. Basically the same thing, but based on dollar amount. And probably the last thing I'd say is just, again, making sure that you, but also your vendor, digs into all these things and continues to optimize, continues to change over time, because the world changes, so you have to too. I hope that helps. Thanks a lot.